Welcome to a new episode of The Career Changes. Our guest today is Megan Gaul, a transformation and accountability coach. During her journey to self-realization, she discovered what was most fulfilling for her after undertaking a significant weight loss journey. Nowadays, her mission is to help others uncover roadblocks and discover the ability within themselves to become healthier, one small habit change at a time. Today, we are going to talk about her career change journey, finding her mission, and why improving your health can boost your career. Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with your background. How did you start your professional life, or better, what was your first job?
My first career-related move, I think, was I was getting a degree to become a teacher. So my first jobs were long-term substitute teaching positions in high schools in the city. So that was my college focus, and that was what I taught European history and United States history in just for a year or two in public schools in the city.
Hmm. And what was your dream job when you were a child?
When I was little, I wanted to be a music teacher. Uh, and I think that was something that I was very hesitant about moving towards because I didn't have the confidence to say, I think I'm good enough to actually audition and get into these music education programs in the schools near me. So I went into college with little idea of what I wanted to do, and then fell in love with some history courses and decided to go for teaching, specifically teaching history.
Hmm. And what is your educational background?
So I have a bachelor's degree, my first four years of college. That's in social studies, so history, and my master's degree is in adolescent education and social studies. So that's my formal education. And then all the other skills I've learned since then are not formal at all. They're all self-grown.
So how did you progress your career from there? Did you go fully into teaching?
No, I decided within the first year or two of long-term substitute teaching and working to get my license that it felt like a mismatch for me. I felt very strongly that I was a good educator, but I felt like my emotional readiness was not there. I feel like teachers have a lot of, they are required to really be grounded in their own emotional well-being because they are in such a caring profession. They really have to help such a wide swath of students hit these academic goals, but provide a safe space for them to do so. And for me, I was an anxious young adult. I'm still working on my anxiety to this day. And I felt as though I was going to take on all that emotionality. And it felt daunting to me. So I looked for something outside of the traditional classroom, and um, I became a manager of a tutoring center that I used to work with as a tutor, and I kind of moved up the ranks there and became a manager of one of their centers.
Hmm. So let's talk about your career change later on that was related to your weight loss journey. So how and when did you start your weight loss journey?
So that started while I was working at this tutoring center, while I was a director there. And it began because I really saw myself starting to eat in a way that felt just riddled with guilt. It felt like it was all in response to stress and that I couldn't control it. So I started to go to cognitive behavioral therapy just to help if there was something that could help me address those behaviors, eating, in the middle of the day, just far too much, just out of a way to kind of de-stress from the workday. So that's kind of when I started to really look at my eating habits and my managing of stress and how they were really connected for me. And so through going to therapy and through making some small changes at first and then big changes later on, that's what started my weight loss from about 2018 to 2019.
Mm. And what challenges did you have to overcome to change your lifestyle habits?
The first big challenge I had to overcome was actually understanding that I could make a change. I was in a place where I felt like I had no choice about what was happening in my life. I just felt like everything was happening to me. Um, and so I really did need some, like a counselor, some kind of outside source to help me build the skills to start making small changes in my life. So the first small changes were drinking a little bit more water every day and then starting to keep a food journal. And those two habits, I saw myself sticking with them every day. And I think that gave me evidence that I could change my life. It started me along the path to gradual weight loss over that time. It really proved to me that, you know, I could make a change if I decided on it. And if it didn't feel like a huge overwhelming change, it would be possible for me. So that's what started me kind of tracking my food over time, adding some walks, building a meditation habit. All of those things really helped me reach a healthier weight over that year, 11 to 12 months.
Mm. And so, at what point in your life did you feel inspired to become a transformation and accountability coach? What was when did you have this moment where you felt like this is what I want to do?
I think that moment wasn't until 2020 or 2021, around there. But it had been growing a little bit over time because I had never been someone who wanted my fulfillment to come from work in my early adulthood. I felt as though as long as I got a paycheck that let me start saving and let me travel a little bit and let me live independently, then that's all I wanted my work to do for me. I didn't feel like I needed to care very deeply at a personal level about what I was doing. And right now I'm totally different. My viewpoint on that is totally different. I think I think I was scared of making my work really personal to me because I was worried about doing a good job in general. You know, I was very worried about people pleasing at my previous jobs. I think that's one reason I wasn't uh, drawn to teaching anymore because I saw how many people there were to please. Just such a big environment full of kids and students and and so every job that I got after that, I slowly was building the skills of, okay, I'm not doing this work for other people or for people to see me as competent or to get this paycheck. The paycheck is just part of it. I'm doing this because what is my life for? I want my life to be directed towards something good. And so the start of me trying to make my career go towards that fulfillment aspect was probably a year, yeah, maybe a year after I started doing therapy. I started to apply for different kinds of jobs outside that tutoring position, and I started to work for a nonprofit. And through there, I really learned. I started as a coordinator for the executive director, so I felt almost like a secretary for a little bit, but they were wonderful there in that they had a an attitude of building people skills even if they started off in kind of a rote position. So I really got a lot of opportunity to learn about kind of using data to direct strategy at an organizational level, and that was really interesting to me. But the kind of overall mission of that nonprofit was helping uh, put teachers in positions of political power so that they could change laws to help kids. So that gave me the first taste of all these people around me were really fired up by what they were doing every day. And I hadn't really been in that environment before. And it made me really question in myself, what does get me fired up that way? Um, And having been through this opportunity, this change of my weight loss, that fired me up because I saw that it proved to me that I could change my life. And I see a lot of women, especially, stuck in that helpless feeling of not being able to change their health because of all the guilt that goes around with the diet industry. And so that's really what made me want to, start having the idea of maybe health coaching could be something that I would be able to do on my own,
Mhm.
and I could help people in the same way that I was helped by, a counselor, a therapist, just in a more directed habit change kind of way rather than the emotional way.
Yeah, so your weight loss journey led you to a lot of changes in your life. So let's talk about how improving our health can also help us to boost our careers. In what ways do you believe improving one's health can positively impact their career?
Well, I think the big thing that improving my health made me do was create a way to manage my chronic stress, so that I was actually freed up to enjoy work. I think before I embarked on my weight loss journey, I had no skills to manage stress because all my skills were, let me just eat, let me just enjoy, relaxing at the end of the day
Mhm.
and numb out with food. So I wasn't forced to create any really healthy ways to lower stress, to be okay with stress once in a while. And so forcing myself to change how I was eating meant that I was seeing feelings bubble up that I didn't really have experience in dealing with. I was getting more angry at the beginning. I noticed anger, I noticed more sadness, and I noticed the stress more acutely. And so during that time, that's when I built a very short daily meditation habit. Um, that's when I started daily walking. That's when I started having a short list of things I could do in the evening if I was noticing that urge to eat a bunch of snacks just to forget about the stress of the day. So I built up kind of a list of small activities that would help me get through the stress without needing food to numb out. So that I think really applied to my career change because I was noticing that I could show, if I applied the same kinds of de-stressing to how I showed up at work, I could enjoy it more and I could do a much better job. I thought I was doing a fine job before because I was trying to please my boss and hit all the targets.
Mhm.
But once I de-stressed, I saw that I could think creatively. I could help my boss solve problems that she didn't see before. I was doing such a better job because I was learning the skills of handling stress better. So I think that really helped me see that if I can show up better at my nonprofit job now, could I do this on my own? Could I use these skills and actually create like kind of a self-employment system for myself, which is so new to me. But here I am doing it. But yeah, so I think that skill of managing stress was the most important one.
Mm. So what are some common roadblocks that people face when trying to improve their health, and how do you help them overcome these obstacles?
Hmm. There's a lot. I think one big one that people face is they try to take on a program that doesn't really fit all the kinds of weeks that they'll encounter in their life. So, for example, they'll try to do keto and intermittent fasting, and then they'll come up to a week where they're on holiday with their friends or their family. And it's really not possible for them to eat that way. That everyone's waking up early and getting breakfast together. Everyone's eating at places that don't have the foods that work for that person in that program. And so that person has committed to something that doesn't fit in their life. Someone who has committed to keto to lose weight, but has decided that even on a vacation, I will bring this food. I will do that. I will, you know, tell my family and friends that I'm not eating breakfast with them, but I'll just go to enjoy with them. That person has said, okay, I'll do keto and I will keep it going throughout all the seasons of my life. But many people try to do these pretty restrictive things and they find themselves on an on, off cycle.
Mm.
So that's a big roadblock because people never feel like they get traction, or they lose weight and then they regain and back away from the process entirely because they assume it just is not going to work for them. So what I like to do is have the person just take a few, maybe 1 or 2 weeks to really observe what they're doing now and decide on 1 or 2 small changes first and practice doing those even when they're on vacation, even when they have a stressful life season, even when they have to do caretaking for a family member. Practice the small changes and keep them constant and test really if they're long-term habits or not. So that's kind of how I help people over that roadblock. They're almost choosing their own program rather than taking a cookie cutter approach and just taking Weight Watchers or intermittent fasting all together and expecting themselves to do it all their lives.
Mm. And can you elaborate on the concept of making small habit changes to achieve long-term health goals?
Can I elaborate on it, you said?
Yes, so sometimes it's easier, as you say before, as you said now earlier, it's easier to think it's gonna be black and white. I'm gonna do it whole, or I'm not gonna do it at all. But what about us making small habit changes instead to achieve long-term health goals?
Yeah, I think people shy away from making a small change because they feel like it's not going to do anything, and they're also very anxious for the results to come quickly. And when you think about health and quick results, those things don't go together because health is not like a one and done. I've accomplished health. It's done. The project is over. I can put it in the folder and put it in the archive. It's something that we're always going to work on for the rest of our lives. And even though weight loss feels like it's a small part of our lives, like it should be, we do it for a little bit and then we can kind of let it, be in the past and not look at it anymore. The habits that are involved in getting someone from one weight to a healthier weight, if they want to stay there, those habits are going to have to stay anyway. So when you think about it that way, it becomes less urgent. It becomes less, I've got to get this done right now because it's hard. Weight loss is hard. I got to get it done fast and get it over with. Instead, you look at it with an approach of, I'm going to be doing this for decades to come. How can I make it enjoyable? How can I make it possible even when things are hard? So that's how small habit changes work because you get used to them. You make them part of your I don't want to say personality, but you make it part of your routine that is enjoyable to you, and that really cuts down on the possibility of regaining that weight later, which is really what we all want to avoid. We all want to stay there. We don't want to just lose weight and pop back up immediately.
Mm. So, what roles does accountability play in achieving sustainable lifestyle changes, and how do you facilitate it for your clients?
So I love using accountability at the very beginning of someone building a habit because that's when it's the hardest and that's when it's most likely to fall off. So I help clients we use, kind of weekly planning sheets where they're very clear with themselves on what actions they expect themselves to do when they're building those habits. Um, and so as a coach, I have this, I create the structure for them to do that. Another time that accountability is really important is the first time that a big roadblock appears. So, for example, if someone has built the habit of journaling their food and then they have a holiday coming up, that is an important part of accountability that I provide. I allow them to plan out how they're going to make that habit happen during their vacation, what changes need to happen, how can they adjust their expectations of themselves while still making this habit non-negotiable every day. So those are the two places I think accountability is most important when they first start and when they have a big roadblock. But outside of that, I want the person to be able to be their own accountability buddy. I want them to know very clearly what they expect of themselves and to feel confident they can do it. And if it's not possible, give themselves a lower bar to hit. And I think that's a skill that I have built over a long period of time and know that it takes a long time to build. So the coaching can kind of help a person be their own kind of self-coach over time.
Mm. So what role does mental and emotional well-being play in career advancement, and how does it relate to overall health?
I think career advancement can only, well, I think it's best served when you can think creatively and expansively about what you actually want to do with your life, what you want to bring to the world. And in my experience, I can't reach that creative, expansive place if I'm in a stressed, anxious state. I think a lot of us there are some people who operate under a constantly stressed state, right? They always have elevated cortisol levels. They're always feeling some kind of dysregulation in their body. They're inflamed all the time. When your body is in that state, it's very hard to access the part of your brain that can think long term and can think about what your goals are. So for me, mental and emotional health gets you to the place where you can actually know with more clarity where you want your career to go. And that was the case for me. Like once I learned the skills to calm that stress, I was able to open my mind up to what I could actually do and um, open the paths up to me. I saw my life as a very closed path before, and afterwards I was able to see so many different roads I could go down. So I think that's the importance that mental and emotional well-being play.
Mm. So we're reaching the end of this episode, but we have a few more questions. So first of all, what type of advice would you give to anyone looking to start a health transformation journey?
If they've never, well, there's some people who have started many times, and I would give them different advice to someone who is first starting. Because I think someone who has started many times comes to that process with a lot of stress already there. So if you've tried many times and you are going to make one more go of it, my advice would be to start with what you're doing right now. Fully get a picture of the habits you're doing regularly each day. Are you drinking water? Do you know whether you're eating to support your body weight now or to lose weight over time? Learn about yourself first before you decide on a change to make. And then when you do decide, give yourself time to really make that habit groove in your routine over time. There's not as much urgency as you might feel there is. And to someone who's never tried to make a health transformation before, that's really exciting. I don't know very many people actually who are in that space. But if I was advising that person, I would say like think expansively about what you want your day to look like. Because that's really what a health transformation does. Like it allows over time, your day is going to look different. Like for me, my day used to be worry about work, come home and numb out from work, do very little for myself outside of those things. And now my day is full of things I enjoy. Like I help people with difficulties and overcoming roadblocks. I do walking in nature. Like I make sure I meditate. I connect with my friends and family. So think about what you want your life to look like. And then, just like the other group, choose one change you want to make first and make it intentionally. And once you're ready, make your next step forwards.
Mm. So, what advice would you give instead to someone looking to change their career based on your own experience as well?
I would say, based on my experience, I didn't feel able to change my career intentionally until I had support to help me manage my stress and think big. So if you're struggling in that place and you feel like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place and there's really not very many choices for you, that's when it's time to get help to reduce that stress and change your mindset about what's available to you. So whether it's a counselor, a therapist, a mentor, a coach, someone who can get a second set of eyes on your situation to help you see more choices that you may be shutting yourself off from. That's kind of that's what really helped me start to expand what I was thinking I was capable of.
Mm. And really, the last question, if you could give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say to your younger self?
I think I would tell myself, you're struggling now, and that's totally okay. Thank you for doing the things that you have done already to help me, future me. I would say thank you for doing whatever you're doing, even the tiniest small changes. Thank you for taking those steps because they really added up. You know, when I'm looking back now, all those small changes really added up for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Megan, for joining us today and sharing your inspirational career change story and wisdom with our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great conversation.
And a last message for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Please leave a review if you have enjoyed this episode and tune in next week for a new inspirational episode of the Career Changers. Thank you.
Thanks.